The Zodiac Killer, America's most elusive serial killer. In the late 1960s, a mysterious and sinister figure emerged from the shadows of Northern California. He didn't hide in silence like many killers. He didn't flee the scene and disappear. Instead, he gave himself a name, the Zodiac, and set in motion a terrifying game of murder, coded messages and public taunts. His crimes would leave 5 confirmed victims dead, dozens more potentially connected, and an entire nation gripped with fear. The first known murders, December 20th, 1968. It began on a cold and quiet Friday night, December 20th, 1968. 17-year-old David Faraday and 16-year-old Betty Lou Jensen had planned a casual evening together, a first date filled with the innocent excitement of teenage romance. They drove out to Lake Herman Road, a rural stretch between the small towns of Vallejo and Benicia. The lovers' lane where they parked was a popular spot for young couples. But this night would end not in kisses and conversation, but in bloodshed and death. At approximately 11 p.m., someone approached their car. Without warning, shots rang out. David was shot in the head at close range as he sat in the driver's seat. Betty Lou fled, running for her life, but she didn't get far. The killer shot her 5 times in the back, and her body collapsed onto the gravel. There were no eyewitnesses, no surveillance, no obvious suspects. The crime seemed random, pointless even, but it was methodical, calculated. Something more sinister was at play. Police found shell casings from a .22 caliber weapon, but little else to go on. The community was horrified, but no one yet suspected that this was the beginning of something far worse. July 4th, 1969, Blue Rock Springs Park attack. Just over 6 months later, on the night of July 4th, 1969, while Americans celebrated freedom and fireworks, the killer struck again. 22-year-old Darlene Ferran, a waitress and mother, had driven with her friend, 19-year-old Michael Majot, to Blue Rock Springs Park in Vallejo. Around midnight, a car pulled into the parking lot and parked behind them. Moments later, the driver exited, walked up to their car, and without a word opened fire using a 9mm pistol. Darlene was hit multiple times and died at the scene. Michael, despite being shot in the neck, chest, and face, miraculously survived. From his hospital bed, he described the attacker as a stocky white male, around 5 feet 8 inches, weighing over 200 pounds, wearing dark clothes and glasses. Just an hour later, a man called the Vallejo Police Department from a payphone. Calmly and clearly, he confessed to the crime. But that wasn't all. He also admitted to the Lake Herman Road murders. The police traced the call to a payphone just blocks from the station. The killer had been close, too close, and he wanted them to know. The letters begin, a game of death. On August 1st, 1969, 3 separate newspapers, the San Francisco Chronicle, the San Francisco Examiner, and the Vallejo Times-Herald, each received a nearly identical letter. Each was handwritten in a blocky script and signed with an unusual symbol, a circle with a cross through it. Each envelope also contained 1/3 of a cryptogram, a complex cipher made up of seemingly random symbols. The writer claimed to be the killer. He demanded the ciphers be published on the front page of each paper. If they didn't comply, he warned, more people would die. "I like killing people because it is so much fun," he wrote chillingly in one message. "It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest because man is the most dangerous animal of all." 1 week later, a high school teacher and his wife cracked the 408-character cipher. The decoded message revealed the killer's twisted motivations. He claimed that by killing, he was collecting slaves for the afterlife. But crucially, the message ended with a final line that frustrated everyone. "I will not give you my name." The Zodiac's signature and continued terror. From this point forward, the killer adopted the name Zodiac in his letters. He continued to send chilling messages to newspapers, always signed with the now infamous crosshair symbol. Each letter was filled with arrogance, mockery, and eerie details about the crimes. Details that only the killer would know. The Zodiac seemed to revel in his notoriety. He taunted police, offered riddles and clues, and claimed responsibility for other murders, some that were never officially connected to him. He even suggested he was responsible for a bombing plot and detailed how he might shoot out the tire of a school bus before picking off the children one by one. He wasn't just a murderer, he was a terrorist of fear, using the media to hold a city hostage with uncertainty. Lake Berryessa, September 27, 1969. The Zodiac changed tactics with his next attack. On the afternoon of September 27, 1969, college students Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard were picnicking by Lake Berryessa, northeast of Napa. A man wearing an unusual costume, a black hood with a white cross circle symbol sewn onto it, approached them. He said he was an escaped convict and needed money in a car. Calm but firm, he tied them up. Then, with chilling deliberation, he stabbed them both repeatedly. Brian survived the attack with 6 stab wounds. Cecilia was stabbed 10 times and died 2 days later. Before fleeing, the Zodiac took the time to scrawl a message on Brian's car door, listing the dates of his previous killings along with the location and method, by knife, of this most recent attack. It was his boldest act yet. The San Francisco cab murder, October 11, 1969. Less than 2 weeks later, the Zodiac struck again, this time in the heart of San Francisco. Paul Stein, a 29-year-old cab driver, picked up a passenger in the theater district. The ride ended in the upscale neighborhood of Presidio Heights, but instead of a tip, Paul was shot point blank in the head. Several children witnessed a man calmly walking away from the cab, wiping down the interior. They described him as a heavy-set white man with glasses. Police were on the scene within minutes, but due to a critical radio error, officers were mistakenly told to look for a black suspect. The Zodiac slipped through their fingers. Days later, the San Francisco Chronicle received a letter. Inside was a piece of Paul Stein's bloody shirt, cut from the crime scene. The Zodiac had done it, and once again, he had gotten away. A rain of letters, ciphers, and threats throughout late 1969 and into the early 1970s, the Zodiac continued to write letters. Some included detailed ciphers, threats of mass bombings, and even hit lists. He threatened school buses, planes, and public gatherings. In November 1969, he sent the now infamous 340-character cipher, so complex that it wouldn't be solved for over 5 decades. It wasn't until December 2020 that a trio of amateur code breakers cracked it using modern software. The message included another mocking tone. "I hope you are having lots of fun in trying to catch me. I am not afraid of the gas chamber." Still, he gave no name, no definitive clues, just a haunting voice that refused to be silenced. Suspects and endless theories. Over the years, hundreds of suspects have been named and investigated. The most well-known is Arthur Lee Allen, a disgraced school teacher and convicted child molester who lived in Vallejo. He owned a Zodiac-branded watch, had a military background, and matched many physical descriptions. But DNA samples from the Zodiac letters didn't match Allen. Handwriting experts were inconclusive. No hard evidence could tie him definitively to the crimes. Others have pointed to journalists, convicted killers, and even relatives. Every few years, new names surface, each one reigniting the mystery. But none have led to a conviction. After 1974, the Zodiac's letters stopped. Some believe he died. Others think he simply moved on or changed his methods. The confirmed body count stands at 5 murdered victims, 2 survivors, but the Zodiac claimed to have killed 37 people and potentially more. Several unsolved cases from the era remain under review. Despite the efforts of police, the FBI, and generations of amateur sleuths, the case remains open in multiple jurisdictions. Today, the Zodiac Killer remains a symbol of the unknown. He was a murderer who wanted to be famous but never caught. A man who left puzzles instead of evidence, who used the press as his stage and the public as his audience. His identity is still a mystery, and the most haunting question of all remains: did he simply vanish into obscurity, or is he still out there?